Hi everyone, it's Lynn from Finds of Yesterday, and I wanted to share with you my beautiful purchase of vintage beaded purses. Many of these are antique, some are vintage, and I wanted to share some of the characteristics of them. And if there's any vintage beaded purse collectors out there, maybe you can share your knowledge in the feedback in the comments. And I'm just learning about these, so I did some research, and I'm just going to share some of the facts that I found out for you. Let's get started. All right, does anybody know what the difference between a reticule and an evening bag is? Well, there's two different varieties here on the table. So the first one is a reticule, which is a woman's small handbag. It's small and it is netted originally, and it has a pouch-like design to it with a drawstring like this one does, and several of these do. And a lot of them were decorated with embroidery or beading. They don't have any rigid frames on them, and they have a flexible body like these, and they do close. Some of them close, they cinch close. This one does not, as you can see, like this one up here does. And let's see, here's another one that cinches closed with a drawstring. So this is a lovely one, and you'll see constantly little beads are falling off a lot of these, so you have to be gentle with them because they are fragile. They're over 100 years old. Now the difference between the reticule and an evening bag is more on this side. The evening bag has these harder frames, and they're just gorgeous, I think. I just absolutely love these. And the evening bag is also, it's more structured, like it has this type of a frame to it. It's more like rectangles, squares, as compared to the flowing reticule design. It also has metal mesh in an evening bag, which I do have one. No, I don't have, that's not a metal mesh. I have one that's right here, but that's not really an evening bag. That's pretty small. And they're adorned with beads and rhinestones, and they're more like in the early 1900s to the 1950s, and they're usually lined. Now the other ones are usually unlined, but I noticed that a lot of these that I have are lined. This one I don't believe is. This one is, as you can see. And you'll see that they're hand stitched on the edges too. A lot of these are hard to pull apart because they've been cinched up for so long that when I try to pull the drawstring through, they kind of come, I don't want to say they come apart. They kind of lose some beads. So again, I don't want to mess with them too much because they just keep losing beads. So they're very delicate. Now, talking about the different materials of the metal, we got mostly brass. Most of these, this one is really pretty. It has this beautiful filigree. It's probably like silver plate. A lot of these are brass, and that's the most common. And then nickel silver is another one, which is German silver, and it's not actually silver at all. It's 3 other types of metal. And then you got silver plate and sterling silver, which I don't think I have any of them. They would be marked normally, and you can look for markings inside of the metal. A lot of times it'll say it somewhere in here. And you can see this is nicely lined. It's got this nice structure to it. This is a really pretty purse. And with this, it's either amethyst or rhinestone. I believe it's probably rhinestone. It's going back to the metals. We got gold filled and gold washed. I always say washed. This is it's kind of hard to say. I'm not real good at this, but this is probably brass with a silver plate is my guess. Maybe. And then aluminum is also a type of metal they used, and it's lighter weight. I almost feel like this is aluminum because boy, was the weight on this a lot lighter than these. And then we got pot metal, which is heavy and kind of not as pretty, let's put it that way. They used pot metal from the 1930s to the 50s. And aluminum was from the 30s to the 50s as well. All right, so let's break this down into eras, like the Victorian era, which was from the late 1800s to 1900. So they used extremely fine micro beads and tapestry-like beadwork there, and during that time frame. And this is kind of the concept. It's not as finely detailed as a real tapestry-like beadwork from that time frame. This is a little more looser, I believe. And they used a lot of floral motifs. A lot of these are very simplified. They're not real in-depth designs, which I think I lost that auction because there was some. And they went for a lot higher price, out of my range, especially when I didn't really know what I was looking at and what I was doing. And then the frames in that time frame tend to be more ornate, and they were made of cast brass or silver plate. And during the Edwardian time period, which was the early 1900s, that was kind of in between the Victorian and the Art Deco time. So it's a crossover in designs in that time frame, 1900 to 1920. They continued the beadwork, but more elongated evening bags. Look at this one. A lot of these have these tassels on the bottom. And there's the drawstring. This is early. I believe that one is, it might be considered Edwardian. I was thinking maybe Victorian, but it's kind of elongated. This one right here is really an interesting one, but this one is so fragile. I don't want to lose any beads on it. And the dye seems to have bled into the fabric. And it's got that drawstring. And also during the Edwardian period, they started seeing gate top purses or expandable ones like this. That's pretty interesting looking one. So this pops up and that holds that together. I'll try to do this with one hand. It's really tight, but this expands out. And it's nicely crocheted. It's got a really nice decorative pattern on it. Anyway, this expands out a little bit more, and it is lined. And then close it back up really tight to fit back into this lid. These are just such cool purses. So then we hit the Art Deco era, which is the flapper era. We all know what that means. Beads and fringe and lovely pieces. I have a feeling this one probably is from the Art Deco period. Look at all these fringe hoops hanging. And you think about geometric symmetry when you think Art Deco. And structural, like architectural, stylized floral patterns. And then they use metal mesh, which is like this piece over here. That started around that time frame, and it's mostly because of Whiting and Davis. Whiting and Davis used to do these little loops by hand in the early 1900s, and then by 1921 they actually started making them by machine. And then they could mass produce these, and it became a big thing. And this one, if I could open it with one hand, is not Whiting and Davis, but it gives you an idea of what Whiting and Davis would look like. Then there's another brand. It starts with an M, Mandelian or something like that. Mandelian. This one obviously is not marked, but you really need to look close at these to see if so you don't miss the mark. This little kind of a clasp on top is called a kiss lock. It snaps closed. You can see how it's little pieces of metal that are all linked together with hoops. And then they hung some little fringe on the bottom, and it's got this long chain. Think long when you think Art Deco. Some lovely little pieces here. Look at this one. This one's actually for potpourri, but can you imagine a girl carrying this around so she has some fresh scent with her? This still smells. I haven't been blown away by that, but it does still smell like almost like lavender. And these cute little ones in here, fully beaded. The whole purse is fully beaded. If this is a purse, yes, it is. It's got a snap, I think, holding it together, but it is lined. It's got a little lining. And here's another little one. This looks like Art Deco to me. Just the shape. It's almost like jewelry for their wrist. And look at the chain. You can see by the patina of the chain too, and the patina of this, that they're older. They do still make these up into the mid-century. They were popular. But you can kind of tell the difference between the newer ones and the older ones, just because the newer ones are cleaner, shinier. The gold on them might be brighter. They're not going to have as much wear as these old ones do. Okay, and one more is this enamel mesh purse. This one lost its handle or something, but it's the remains of a purse. It's got a little fringe on the bottom, and it's open on the top. But it's just metal that has an enamel painting on it. Then there was also painted metal, but this is enamel. It's flat. You can see the shape of the machine metal pieces and the nice quality of the enamel on top. Painted looks a little duller, I think. That's just my opinion. And then this is a nice little tapestry one. If you can imagine this in this size, how much that purse would be worth, because this is just a little tiny one. It's adorable though. It's got like almost like a kiss lock, but with hoops on the top. Then we also have crocheted. Aren't these cool? Fancy, fancy. Where's the opening? Okay, so this must hang on something. Not quite sure what that is. And this one looks like a little decorative, I don't know, that's just, it's open on the top. So that's a cute little one. I don't know quite what these are. If they hang them, this is a purse. You just hang them on your wrist. You can walk around with holding your stuff in your little pouch instead of holding it in your hand. And here's another one. That's cute. And this one's just like the other one, but look at that. Isn't that adorable? Lovely, lovely lace ones. This one is interesting. It's got some corrosion on it, but that tells you of the age. It looks more industrial-like. And here's the front, which has got more of a stamped pattern to it. And let's see if we can open it with one hand. I just pulled it off. I just broke it. Lovely. All right. So much for trying to do this with one hand. That's what I'm saying. They're so fragile. Let's look at this one again. This one is an interesting. It opens like this. And it forms a pouch. Isn't that cool? It's got a fabric stripe on it. And this one actually has a hinge clasp on it that folds over. Or no, it just pushes out. And look at the inside of that. They're usually lined with silk or satin. And some of the newer ones are more canvas style. And I think we've seen the inside of this one. It's more of canvas. This one's probably a little bit newer, but it's a nice substantial purse. But check this one out. If you look really close, these are all tiny, tiny little beads. Probably machine sewn on. Not quite sure how a machine can do that, but... And look at the bottom. So let's flip it over. Look how the back is. Oh, such a neat purse. And they matched it up with the material, the velvet material. That's another type of cloth you'll see on a lot of these is velvet. This one right here is kind of like a weaving, like a rough weaving. Maybe it wasn't this rough back in the day, but it's starting to kind of fray at the ends, but it's almost like it was an applique sewn on because it's got the black threads through it. What else do we have? This is a cute little one. And it's beaded on the back as well. This is pretty heavy. This one is gorgeous too. Yep, there's, oh my gosh, this one's losing its bottom fringe. I'll come down to it. It is lined. And here's another one. This one almost looks wedding-ish to me. But a lot of these are glass beads. And ribbon top with the little hoops. So I wanted to show you one more thing. This is what happens. Look at that. There's 3 more that are coming apart. This one has some really pretty dangle beads on it, which I thought was pretty interesting. I'm sad that it's falling apart. This one is really losing all of its individual beads everywhere. So that is about the extent of what I wanted to talk to you. We're going to go to eBay and we're going to hop over to eBay and look at pricing. The things that would make a purse higher value would be the condition, of course. And are all the beads intact? Does it have stable lining? Does the clasp work? And is the chain in good condition? And then you want to look at the rarity and the workmanship. Is it extremely fine micro beading? Then it's probably more valuable, like museum quality needlework. And then does it have a provenance or a maker like Whiting and Davis or some of the French or English makers? And its originality, is it in its original frame? Is the lining original and the chain, or has it been restored? That will give it more value if it's original. And then the style, of course, what's in demand? Large floral Victorian reticules are in style and people are collecting them. So the 1920s Art Deco pieces are the market favorites. So you kind of want to look for both of them styles, and we're going to hop over to eBay and see what these are selling for. All right, we're here in eBay and I typed in vintage beaded purse. And I just wanted to show you what has been selling at the highest prices. So if you look through some of these with me, you'll see these very detailed beaded purses with beautiful scenes on them. All of these are little pearls. Let's see if you can see it closely. Oops. These are all little beads sewn on. Just a wonderful piece. And you can see that it is not lined. It is just a gorgeous piece. Let's go back and scroll through some of these. Look at these beautiful scenes, a lot of floral, and you'll see the hard tops on these. Look at this sea scene. That's hard to say. Water scenes, and just some different symbols, flowers, birds. And look at the prices that these are selling for in the 200s, $300. Let's go back up and see what the highest price one was. 1,200, but that's a little bit different. This one is 750, 645, 596. Some great pieces. Now I typed in antique reticule, which if you scroll through these fairly quickly, you'll see it's all the ones that are like drawstring tops, and they look like pouches. That is a reticule. And they're very elaborate, and they're full of beads. And these sold for somewhere around 300, 155, 150. So I guess without the hard tops, they're selling for a little bit less. And then we go to antique evening bag, which means it's the hard top. This is not one. The hard top like this. And here's another one. This one's got a hard top, but it's got a compact built into it. Here is a hard top, $295. And we have some more. Here's an evening bag with the hard top. Hard tops. They call this Art Nouveau, which I don't know if I see that, but it could be. Most of these are around $200 that they sold for. Now I typed in vintage mesh bag, which is the metal bags that are either machine made or they used to hand make them before like 1900. And here we got a beautiful chainmail with this lovely oval top. There's that compact one again. There's a fold over. Here is some pretty common style right here. Look at these with all different painted scenes on them. These are Whiting and Davis. All four of these are Whiting and Davis. You can see why Whiting and Davis was most popular back then. You had some beautiful designs. Now these are in the 300 range. Look at this one, 300 for this chainmail, rounded one. This is a very unique one. Let's look at that one. Very interesting. It's more of a little cone shape. Little box. And it has some dimension to it. They carried some really adorable purses back then. Which I'm not saying we don't have that now. And then I also wanted to run across the mini mesh purses. Like this one. This one is 750 gold. That's why it sold for 2,500. But most of these are a lot less than that. This one is a micro beaded mesh one that it says 15 karat. I don't really know what that means. Let's look at it. I'm not sure, but it's antique and 1890 handmade. That one does have a nice lining to it. It's made in France, that's probably why. This one's really cute, $62. This one's interesting, $72. That's Victorian. It's got a very unique shape. But here's what I was really looking at is the mini purses. See how little this is? It has the hard top with the kiss lock and some little, oops, little dangles on it. Sold for $75. And you can see on the inside, it has no lining. It looks like chainmail on the inside. But that's a pretty good price for that. Let's see if we can go back. And here's another silver tone one. This one sold for $64.81. But I wanted to show you these. I run across these a lot and I sell them quite a bit for in that $50 range. This one's in good shape. It depends on how tarnished the metal is. But if you have a nice one that doesn't have a whole lot of tarnish and it has this embellishment on it, which adds a little bit, then it gives it that $50 value. They do call these like chatelaine purses. I think because they could hang them from a chatelaine, or they used to hang them from chatelaines. Like this one's a little more plain, but it's still sold for $52. Here's a nice one on a long chain. That's a flapper one. That was $50. Here's a Whiting and Davis. These purses just do well. And another one for $42. It probably has a little more wear to it. This one looks good, $40. So yeah, that is another one I wanted to show you to keep an eye out for. Then we also have these gate, whatever they call them, gate ones. So hopefully this helps. $31. I'm going to do, let's see if I have one more here. Nope, I don't have one more. Yeah, I do. The crocheted ones. When I typed in crocheted, I was looking for the ivory colored ones like I have, but this is what pulls up is all of these are actually crocheted. And they just have lovely designs on them. Some beautiful, beautiful purses. And one other thing, I was going to go back and do lowest first. And that's where you start seeing some of the common crocheted pieces under $10, $15. Here's a $15 one with $7.80 shipping. And these are antique ones, $25, $14, $15, $7 shipping. 18. This was an interesting one. So yeah, they still they still have a little bit of value from lowest to highest on these crocheted pieces. So I'm pretty impressed with the prices. If you can run across these and pick them up, they're fairly easy to list, but you got to really know if it's antique or not. Otherwise, the 1950s and 60s ones don't sell for quite as high of prices. You might get $15, $20 for them at the most. And just depends if they're made with mesh or crocheted, or just depends. But hopefully just running through these a little bit helped you determine prices on them. And the things you want to look for are the more elaborate designed ones with the prettier scenes on them, all the way down to the crocheted ones. So again, hopefully it helped. Thank you for joining me, and we will see you on the next video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and leave a comment and tell me which ones what type of purses were your favorite. See you on the next one.